All right, you guys, so welcome to week 2 Tuesday. This is your warm-up. So go ahead and pause the video and answer them. Here are your answers for the first two, so 1 and 2. All right, so today we're going to continue on with identifying zeros and factors of zeros. So yesterday I showed you guys how to use your TI-84 calculator to find the zeros, especially if you're not able to find it because you cannot factor it. And so we're going to continue on with skill number 3. We're done with skill 1 and skill 2. If you, for some reason, are having difficulty, like, remembering how to do them, just keep in mind that on the front of your white packet, you guys have your QR code for the YouTube channel. And so I video record all of the videos here. And so you should be able to get caught up, whether it's with your warm up because we're not here, or if you're late and you don't know what the warm up is, just go onto the QR code and you'll have your videos there. Now, if you're like, where do I find that? Well, one, you have it in front of your guided notes on the white packet. Another way to find this is on MS Teams. You just simply go to your Algebra 2 class. And right here, this is your Google Doc for the semester. And you just simply click on the first one. It gives you the syllabus. So here's your syllabus you have access to. And then, of course, you have your YouTube channel, which is right there as well. And then if you go to your YouTube channel, and I have to switch it up with the Zoom, you guys have 4 lessons right here starting on week 1, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, and then today is week 2, Tuesday. So I'll have that video on there as well. So every time I go ahead and do a video, you'll have it. So let's say, for example, you were absent yesterday and you're like, what did I miss? How do I go about finding my warm-up? You just click on week 2, Monday. And then this is your warm-up that you missed from yesterday. Okay, so on week 9, when your warm-up is due, just make sure you have all the boxes filled out. All right, so with that said, let's continue with today's stuff. Your Math Excel, every week you have a homework and a quiz. So your homework is assigned every single Monday. So your week 2 Math Excel is already assigned. It is on Math Excel. Your quiz is given to you guys every single Wednesday. So you'll have a quiz in this class tomorrow. I'll give you guys in time to work on it in class. Your homework assigned Monday, I'll give you guys in class time to work on it on Thursday, which is this coming Thursday. Both of those are due on Sunday by 11 p.m. and your grades are updated every single Wednesday. So Wednesdays tomorrow, I'll be updating your grades. Your grades will be updated on Infinite Campus. You can see exactly where you guys are. And in terms of grades, what I'm looking at is, your attendance is part of it. That's why I have you guys sign in every day. Obviously, your warm up. Your guided notes is a big one. And also, anytime I have you guys turn in anything, like when we work on the quizzes, I always give you guys paper and stuff. Other days, I'll give you guys a handout. So you've turned in several of those and I will be grading them and you'll have your grades updated for last week. Okay. And I do that every Wednesday just so I can keep myself on my toes so that I'm not like holding your grade hostage for like 2 or maybe, 2 months or something. So I try to do that as quick as possible. All right. So today we're going to talk about zeros of polynomial. It is Tuesday. And so yesterday was Monday. We introduced you guys to zeros. We did a little SEL activity. We corrected it. Today, you guys need your TI-84 calculator. And that's all that you need. So come on up and grab your TI-84 calculator, please. Oh, and I lied. Just kidding. And you need to grab a color paper. Sorry, that was my fault. Here we go. Grab a color paper. right, let's go ahead and start on 3.6. So today we're going to talk about theorems about roots of polynomial and equation. Okay, so starting off with the very first one, conjugate root theorem is the one that we're going to talk about today. So if the complex number a plus bi is going to be a root of this polynomial, then the complex conjugate, so opposite of that is a minus bi, is also root of that polynomial. So solving polynomial equations. In order for you to solve the polynomial equation, you must first know one of the zeros using a graphing calculator, and then use factoring or synthetic division to find the remaining zeros. Okay, so looking at this part here, it says rewrite the polynomial equations. What are the roots of this right here? Now, notice when you're not given a graph like I did yesterday, because yesterday you had a graph so you could just kind of see it right there, that shows you the zeros, you will need to find using the following method, either a TI-84, which is calculating the zeros, or factor by algebra. Well, let's see if we can factor by algebra beforehand. So looking at this right here, remember, if you're factoring it, your last number here is 13. Your middle number is 4. Let's see what are all the factors of 13 that can give me a 4. That could be a positive 13 and 1, 1 and 13, negative 1 and negative 13, negative 13 and negative 1. Those are all the different factors that will give me a positive 13. Do any of these add up to a 4, which is your middle number? That gives me a 14, 14, negative 14, negative 14. Nope, it does not. Okay, so right now I can just say algebra is out, cannot use algebra. So the only thing that we can do is by the calculator. Okay, so what I want you guys to do right now is you're going to go ahead and grab your calculator and we are going to do just this. Okay, it says you must know one of the zeros by graphing, and then we have to use synthetic division or long-term division to find the remaining root. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph this. So on your TI-84 calculator, so TI-84, you are going to do y equal, so hit that button. And you're going to type this in, x squared plus 4x plus 13. You are allowed to use your graphing calculator on your common just final. So, and they'll have questions where it requires you to do that. So it's really, really important that you grab your calculator and you practice in class, because if you don't know how to use your buttons, that's going to be a really big problem. Okay, so as I look at this right here, I've noticed that my graph actually does not have any zeros because it goes up this way. But let's say, for example, hypothetically, I'm just going to say hypothetically because this problem was not created very well. Let's just say hypothetically, I have one right here, okay, just hypothetically. And let's say that that one is a negative 2, okay? So then one of your factors will be x plus 2, right? X plus 2. So then if I want to figure out what the other one is, which is right there, then what I would do is I will use synthetic division, or I can do long division, whichever one you want to find the other factor. Okay, so then let's go ahead and do that. Let me go ahead and move a little bit more space over here. Okay, so then we said that if one of the factors x minus 2, we're going to go ahead and divide that in. Okay, so I have x squared plus 4x plus 13. And then just like long division I showed you guys, x times what gives me x squared. I can go ahead and say just x. And remember, we're going to have to distribute that x, which gives me an x squared minus 2x. Make sure you subtract it. And when you subtract that, that cancels. This becomes a positive 2x, which gives you a 6x plus 13. And then x times what gives me a 6x. So I put a 6. And if I multiply it, 6x minus 12. Subtract it, my 6 cancels. 13 plus 12 is a 25, okay? So then if I go ahead and factor this in factored form, my answer is going to be x minus 1 times x plus 6. But then remember, you have a remainder here, so don't forget that, plus your remainder over your divisor of x minus 2. And that is your answer. Okay, let's try example 2, okay? What are the roots to x squared plus 6x plus 2? So remember, our plan is, number 1, we're going to go ahead and graph this. We're going to find one of the zeros, and then we're going to divide to find the other 0. Okay, so that's our plan. So let's go ahead and do that. So your first step when you graph this, you're going to grab your TI-84, and I promise this one, it'll work better because last one did not work. So we're going to do y equals x squared plus 6x plus 2, and then hit graph. And then when you graph it, you should have this blue line that looks something like this. Right? And so as I'm looking at this right here, I'm like, okay, I would really like to find the 0 of this first point. So you're going to go to second, calc. So hit those buttons, second calc. And you're going to go down to 0. And remember, you guys have like a little wheel right here where you have this button and this button. You're going to move the left button on your little wheel so you can move that little cursor right above this blue line. So you want a little cursor right here. And then once it's there, you're going to hit enter. So you're going to do that one first. So you have a little triangle right there. Okay. And then you're going to use the right button to move it below the x-axis and hit enter one more time. And then you should have another little triangle there. So what it's going to do, it's going to make a guess of what that 0 is going to be. And that 0 here is going to be a negative 5.645. So then once you have one of the roots right here, we can go ahead and find the other root. It'll be a little bit difficult to put this into like, for example, into a parenthesis. So let's find the other root, which is going to be right there. Okay, so they're going to do second calc again, hit 0. I'm going to use that right button so I can move it over right underneath this point on the bottom. We're going to do that one first. And they're going to go above it, hit enter again, and then it's going to make another estimate. And those are your 2 zeros for that factor. All right, so let's take a look at number 3. Okay, so for number 3, let's see if we can maybe factor it out first. If I take a look at the first part right here, I could take out an x squared, and I have an x plus 4 going back inside the parenthesis. We're going to factor by grouping. Then I took a look at the last two, and I know I could take out a 25, which means I'll have x plus 4 on the inside of that. Do you guys see how these two are exactly the same? And because they're exactly the same, I could do x plus 4. I just literally combine them together. And then what I do with the remaining piece right here is I'm going to go ahead and write it right in front of it. X squared plus 25. Set it equal to 0. If I set this equal to 0, I'm just going to focus on this one factor because it's a lot easier that way. This one is x plus 4 equals 0. So x equals negative 4. And guess what? That's your first 0. So what I can do with that is I'm going to use that first 0 with long division to find my other 0. Okay. And so with that first 0, I'm going to highlight it in orange. This is my x plus 4. That's one of my factors. This time around, let's try maybe synthetic division, which I've taught you guys before. So instead of long division, synthetic division, okay? And then remember with synthetic division, you're just looking at the coefficients in front of all of these numbers, like 1, 4, 25, 100. So we're going to put 1, 4, 25, and 100. The factor that goes outside of synthetic division is a negative 4. So I'm going to put negative 4 because you got to solve for that, right? And so then what we're going to do is we're going to drop down that 1. Negative 4 times 4 is a negative 4. You add them together, you get a 0. Negative 4 times 0 is a 0. You add them, you get 25. Negative 4 times 25 is a negative 100. You add it, you get 0, which is great because I have a remainder of 0. So then you're like, what's my answer, Callahan? Your answer is going to be your answer right here. Now you started off with x cubed. But with synthetic division, remember, it's always one less than that. So what's cubed minus 1? It's squared. So it's 1x squared plus 0x plus 25. That is your answer. Isn't that the same thing as x squared plus 25? Yeah, it is. And I just want you to know you can use them interchangeably. So if I'm looking for my second 0, what I'll do is I'll take x squared plus 25 set equal to 0 minus a 25 on both sides. I get a negative 25 square root both sides, and I get x equals plus or minus square root of negative 1 times the square root of 25. And I'm writing on like that specifically because remember, you can't have a square root inside your square root, a negative number. A negative number is undefined. But then in Algebra 2, Semester 1, do you guys remember a square root of 1 is that I number, which is imaginary, right? So then what is your other root here? It's plus or minus square root of 25 is 5, and I replace that square root of 1 with an I. So what are your zeros? Your zeros for this is going to be a negative 4, a positive 5i, and a negative 5i. And those are your zeros. I know that was a little bit crazy, but you know what? It's pretty elegant. I mean, how many people can say they actually know how to do this? So you guys are doing a great job. Okay, let's go ahead and kind of go over the steps here. Okay, steps to find the roots and the functions. Step 1, use the graph to determine the factors of the zeros of the polynomial. Use synthetic division to find the zeros of factors of a polynomial. And apply the multiplicative property, product property. All right, let's take a look over here. Actually, we're done with this one. We already did number 3. Let's go to number 4. So number 4. All right, so looking at this right here, it's saying how many zeros do you have in this situation? Okay, so we can go ahead and graph this to kind of test it out to see how many times does it hit the x-axis. So using our TI-84, we're gonna go y equals And you're going to go ahead and just graph this. So we're going to do x caret 4 plus 13x squared minus 48. So then when you go ahead and graph this, you'll see that on your graph, it looks something like this with a blue line, like that. And you might have to like zoom out a little bit to make sure that your window is appropriate. So my window is, you have the window x min, window x max. So my x min is at a -10, my x max is at a 10, my y min window is at a -60, and my y max is at a 40. So you just click on the windows and you can go ahead and move those around a little bit so you can see your graph. So once you see this here, clearly you notice that there are two specifically, right? Because that's where it is. And so how many zeros does it have? Explain how you know. Generally, you look at the biggest exponent. If it has a 4, it basically means there are 4 possible zeros. Look at highest exponent. Okay, so then suppose you're given 2 zeros that are this, x is square root of 3 and x is 4i. List all 4 zeros of p of x. So opposite of this right here, if you have a square root of 3, if I need to put this back into the zero factor form, it'll be x minus square root of 3. So that is your first zero. Your second zero is going to be x minus 4i, because I got to put it back into that parenthesis. And then your third one is going to be opposite of that. So rather than having a minus, it's going to be a plus. And your fourth one, you probably guessed it, is going to be 4i, like that. So then how do I find my zeros from there? Well, guess what? You got to multiply all 4 of them together. Okay, so I'm going to do it separately. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and multiply these 2 together. So we're going to do x minus square root of 3 times x minus plus square root of 3. Okay, and remember, you're going to have to FOIL it. So your FOIL is FOIL. First is x times x, which is x squared. O is outer, so x times a positive square root of 3 is a positive square root of 3x. Inside is going to be a negative square root of 3x. And your last is just square root of 3 times square root of 3. So when you have a square root of 3, because the numbers are exactly on the same inside, your square root just cancel. So what's 3 times 3? 9. What's the square root of 9? 3. So it's just going to be a 3. Is there anything there that I can cancel out, you guys? Do you see the plus square root of 3x and the negative square root of 3x? I'm going to go ahead and cross that out. So then what is my answer? X squared plus 3. That is my answer to that first part. Okay, now I have to go ahead and FOIL this part as well. Okay, so that's my second piece. So then when I multiply that out, I'm going to have x minus 4i, x plus 4i. Well, didn't the outside inside cancel from the last one? Yeah, I did. So didn't I just have to find the first and the last? So then my first is just x times x, which is x squared. My last is just negative 4i times positive 4i, which is 4 times 4 is a negative 16. I times I is I squared. Okay, and this is important for you guys to know that. I squared just means that it is going to be square root of 1 times the square root of 1, which is just negative 1. So then x squared, negative 16 times negative 1 is a positive 16. And this is your answer for the second one. So you have the first part and the second part. Okay, so now you're going to take the first part and the second part and you're going to FOIL it together. Okay, because remember to multiply all 4 of them together. We first multiply the yellow one, then we multiply the orange one. Your orange answer is actually right here. That's what we just did. Okay, so we're going to multiply the orange and the yellow together. So I'm going to have x cubed plus 3 times x squared plus 16. And I'm going to do this on a separate slide so we have a little bit more room. All right, so here we go. FOIL. First, x cubed times x squared is x to the 5th. Outside, x cubed times 16 is 16x cubed. Inside, 3 times x squared is 3x squared. Last, 3 times 16 is 48. There's nothing that I can cancel. So then what is your answer? Your answer for this is x to the 5th plus 16x cubed plus 3x squared plus 48. And that is everything written out in standard form. I know that was a lot. I'm sorry, but I feel like we have to kind of go over this. All right, for example 5, I'm not gonna go over the entire thing. I'm just gonna briefly, a polynomial a of x has these roots. So these are the roots, okay? And it says list 2 more zeros of a of x. Well, I can list 3. I can just say, okay, my first 0 is x plus 5. Opposite of that is x minus 5. So there's 1 root. X equals 6i. That's saying x minus 6i in the parentheses. If I rewrite that, x plus 6i. This one's x minus square root of 5. So I had to rewrite that, x plus square root of 5. So those are all 6 different roots to the 0. All right, so we're done with this. I'm gonna have you guys practice a little bit more on this on a quizzes. And your practice is going to require you to use that lavender paper. So you guys know the drill, how this works. Make sure you guys have your name on the upper right-hand corner. So we'll just put your name right here. So name, and then put your score on the bottom, and then just make sure you guys show your work in the middle. There are 19 questions here. So grab your cell phone or an iPad. Your question is going to be a little bit less complicated than the ones we went over. The ones we went over are really difficult. And so go to joinmyquiz.com, answer code 841806. Haley, you guys are super quick. And for those guys who are still on Zoom with me, your exit today is going to be right over here. There are several questions. Go ahead and answer any three. Have a great day. Guys, so if you are done your exit today, just go ahead and write it on the back of your purple paper. So there are several questions here. You just have to pick any three questions to go ahead and answer, and that is it, you guys. So pick any three to answer on the back of your purple paper. If